Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Apollo Group's podcast. I'm here with my brother Tamu, also joined by my other brother Ngoni, and we've got a special guest today. She is the owner of a multimedia and entertainment company called GN Corporations. She's got a YouTube channel called Uncomfortable Growth. She's almost at 100K subscribers, so if you can,
Yes,
please
sir.
subscribe. She has a podcast as well called After School is After School. She's the host of The Assembly, which is a live podcasting event. She's had multiple articles written about her by the likes of News 24. And what I found pretty dope was she was actually spotted on billboards at the Sophie Stadium in California, which was dope. So we've got Gugu here with us. How are you doing today, Gugu?
What a nice intro. What the heck? I'm gonna come back here all the time. But I'm good, thank you. How are you
That's like
guys?
that's you. That's you, dude.
Thanks, dog. I appreciate that.
So today we're going to be speaking about the power of the pivot. So the reason I chose this topic is because a couple of weeks ago, I actually listened to a sermon speaking about that.
hmm
And the pastor, he had a quote where he basically said, sometimes in life, certain paths just run dry, certain opportunities come to an end, right? And, sometimes as Christians, we might be praying to God to revive something that He declared dead, and He wants us to move on. So I found that pretty interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Ngoni, first. What do you think?
I think pivoting is it's an important topic. I know me and Tamu spoke about it a lot, especially the past 2 years, as I was having a challenge of whether or not to stay in my business or to move on to something else. And that's when the topic of pivoting really came in because I was like, when do you decide to leave and when do you decide to stay? When do you decide it's time for a new season in my life or I need to keep fighting through with that topic? And personally, I feel like I'm in a season of pivot. Just finishing off what my economics degree. Now I'm trying to pivot into something else to see quickly what exactly is the next stage of my life. And one of the things that I've really taken to heart now in the stage of pivoting is I was having a conversation with someone that like you just have to put it into God's hands. And sometimes we always like, okay, I'm putting it into God's hands, but what does putting it into God's hands mean in the perspective of your life? And it's just about active listening, active listening. I had a conversation with someone that like every time I'm going through a season when I want to pivot, I put it onto God, and then whichever doors open are the ones that open, and in that way you don't have to force through things, right? You put it onto God, and then the doors that open for you are the ones that open for you, and that's what pivoting. That's what I've been thinking about pivoting lately.
Okay, I'll pass it over to
Ooh.
you.
You said something interesting there where you speak about like not knowing when to pivot. And I think that's something I've been struggling with. Because we are creatures of habit and I am a creature of habit. I like my routine. I like what I like. I don't really like to stretch myself that hard, to be honest. I like to be in control of things. I like to be good at things. So it's always been something I've really struggled with. And I don't know if I can say when I know when to pivot. If anything, you're right. I think when you give it to God, He opens certain doors and He'll lead you, even if it feels like it's a path that you wouldn't have chosen for yourself. But I think in that path that He's leading you down, there is some sort of not comfort, but ease. Ease in that like things are coming to you in a way that they wouldn't have come to you had you like been forcing something. I also believe in having the fruits of the spirit, and one of the biggest ones for me that I look for in all aspects of my life is peace. Like if I am not at peace, peace in doing something, then I know something is like not cool. Like even if I've been doing the thing for like the longest time, if for some reason I don't feel fulfilled and like peaceful about it anymore, then for me that's an indication. This topic is very personal to me because I feel like I'm pivoting right now, and or rather, I want to pivot, and I'm in that stage where I've given it to God. And I honestly, guys, my prayer is like, what's next? I am extremely grateful for everything that He's brought to pass and everything that I do. But I can feel in my spirit that there's something else I should be paying attention to or something else I should be doing. And it feels like I'm sitting on my hands because I feel like I'm ready for the pivot, but I don't know where I'm pivoting towards.
Yeah.
Even relationally, I think I've pivoted a lot in friendships, which is obviously awkward and hard as well. You grow in God, He changes your character, He changes your taste, like you no longer have things in common anymore. But He's been faithful in that regard because I do feel like I've been able, in the pivot, He's like put me towards the people that He wants for me to be with, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving you guys a whole life update, child, but that's literally just how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, also I feel like I'm in a season where I know I want to get married, so it's like I'm preparing for marriage and like pivoting towards that is also really crazy because what does that look like?
Mm.
Um, Also the preparation season of like being prepared to be a wife, being prepared to be with a man of God, is also just another thing. So
Yeah.
honestly, that's honestly where I'm at. Like I'm in the midst of it. I'm in the middle of it. I feel prepared for it. I just don't know where I'm going.
Mm.
That's my problem.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, yeah, before I hand it over to Tamu, because I just wanted to
Mm,
chip in there. Because for me personally, when I think about pivoting, right, when I think about
mm,
all the times in my life where I've had to pivot, it's
mm.
always just been, a desire for more. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like, in
Absolutely.
certain instances, certain individuals, if you know you're destined for more, you'll know that, okay, cool. Like I'm grateful for what this has gotten me, but I know that there's more for me, right? And some people have it, some people don't. That's how you can get two people,
Mm,
for example, working for the same company, and one person's content. They might not be happy, but they're okay with staying, in the job.
mm,
And someone else will be like, you know what, no, like I know I'm destined for more. And I feel like a big part of pivoting is also taking that risk and having faith in God as well. Which is why I
mm,
realized I said if I'm afraid to take a risk, can I really say that I have faith in God? Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Like I know I had a major pivot I think last year where I kind of left my previous job.
mm,
Um and I started a whole new job, and it wasn't like nothing was really guaranteed. Like I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But I remember praying and being like to God that, you know what, like I know you've got me. And in the end, it
mm,
worked out better than I expected. And the situation I'm in now, I couldn't have imagined it. And this is something that I prayed for. But looking back on it now, like I remember I was very fearful at the time because I'm like, damn, what have I done? Like I quit my job for something that's not guaranteed. You know what I mean?
mm.
It's like, but in hindsight, I'm like, you know what, I'm grateful that I did that because, I knew that I deserve more. I knew what I wanted, right? So
Mm,
I feel like part of being a child of God is actually testing God and telling God that, you know what, I know, I've learned my lesson from this current season that I'm in, but I know I'm destined for more. And I'm gonna,
mm,
just take that risk. So yeah.
mm. Agreed.
Well, I can relate to a lot of the things you guys are saying. And first of all, thank you so much for sharing your experiences as well. And
Mm,
I like the emphasis on God and trusting God because as a human, you never really always know how things are gonna pan out. And I found a lot of peace in trying to understand the fact that God sometimes shows you the rest of the path once you've already taken a step, or after you've taken
mm,
steps, then he illuminates the rest of the path. And for me, and this is something I listened to in one of Gugu's podcasts, I think it was Frontal Lobe Theory. It's so easy to be a prisoner of your past and to tie your identity with where you've been before. And I think that
mm,
sometimes that can be what stops you from moving forward. But I think it also starts with you also believing that, like Rindai was saying, I do deserve more. I can do more. I can be more, regardless of where
Mm,
you've been and what you've been through. So I guess to give an example for myself, I'll use this one because I was speaking to Rindai's brother about it recently. I had a few like delivery motorbikes on the road and a few cars that I was like renting out to Uber drivers and stuff. And within the space of like 4 weeks, I think like 8 of my bikes got stolen and everything just
that's crazy.
it was insane. It was like an inside job. It was like the person I trusted the most essentially started
Yeah.
competing for each other. And with the capital I had left, I decided to open this studio. No
Mm,
guarantees, no clue that anything was going to work out. I just prayed, I got on my knees. I said, this is something I've always loved. I have no idea how it's going to work out. And it actually worked out pretty well. But because
mm,
of those failures, I was afraid. I was really afraid. I was like, this is probably just going to go downhill again. And thank God it didn't. So I guess my
mm,
point is just putting emphasis on the fact that you don't have to be a prisoner of your past. The mistakes that you've made are lessons and not, they shouldn't be anchors to tie you down in that specific situation.
mm.
Not sure if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
That makes
No,
sense.
it does. Um, Hearing you speak, sorry, reminds me of something that my friend said to me once, and he said that you have to practice faith. And I think that's exactly what you did. Like with your 8 motor cars being stolen, shout out to you for recovering and still having like enough courage and faith. Like you practice your faith again in opening the studio space. You know, many people can be discouraged by something like that, like rightfully so, because that's crazy.
Right.
But it's the fact that you knew that you are deserving of more and you knew that like God wouldn't have brought you that far to leave you there.
Mm,
Um, there's also something else, sorry, Randa, you said where you were speaking about like knowing we deserve more. I want to take it a step further and say that if you really know who God is and what his plans are for his children, it's not even about knowing that you deserve more, but it's knowing that he wants more for you.
mm,
And I sometimes feel in my walk, it comes down to not knowing him enough. Like even when I doubt him, I've now resorted to reading my Bible because I know that my lack of trust in him has a lot to do in my lack of knowledge of him.
mm,
Because if I knew who it was that I served and what it is that he's done and what it is that he's spoken over me, I
mm,
wouldn't doubt or fear half of the things that I do. So even in knowing I deserve more, it has nothing to do with me. I mean, I'm grateful that I am someone who sees more for myself, but beyond that, it's because his word has actually spoken so much over me that even in the days where I don't feel like I deserve it or even feel
mm,
like I want it, I know that those are his plans for his children, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I think I find a lot of refuge right now in him being, in my identity being a child of the Lord and like fully taking on that role of being a child and knowing that he is my father. The older we get, I think it's hard to do that. And just like a kid, you know, if your parents say jump into the car, we're going to Durban at 6 a.m., you're not asking them questions. You're going to wake
mm.
up, boy. You're going to go into the car, you're trekking to Durban, it's done for you.
Yeah.
That's the same mentality I'm trying to have with him, and especially in pivoting. Like if he tells me to wake up and do something, I'm gonna do it, even if I don't understand, because I know that wherever he's taking me is far better than where I am, and that his plans are far better than anything that I could think of myself.
Now you're preaching. You're preaching.
Mm. Yeah.
You're preaching. Like you're reminding me of something that my mom always tells me. Do you get what I mean? Because she's
Mm,
got a verse. I can't remember it now, but I think it's
mm,
in Exodus. And she always tells me that, at the night, like I never stress. Like even in situations, where in seasons where I might be experiencing lack,
Mm.
like I cling on to this verse. Do you get what I mean? Like I know this is a
mm,
promise that God made to me.
Mm.
So I like what Google said. At the end of
mm,
the day, it's not about us, right? It's
Yeah.
about knowing who God is
Sure.
and the promises that He has for His children. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
mm,
up to us to claim that. But I like what you said, Google, in the beginning when you were speaking about, pivoting in like friendships and relationships, because I think that's an interesting topic. So,
mm.
Ngoni, it seemed like you had something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I really agree with what you guys were both saying. There's something that Gugu said the first time around. She said, um, when you have, when you're doing something and there's a lot of peace, and I don't really recall, but you said when you do something and there's a lot of peace. I really resonate with that because I was having a conversation with my brother, right? And it's now tying in what Gugu was saying and what Rindai was saying as well. And I was like, okay, I'm starting this new venture, right? That I've been telling you guys about, right?
Yeah.
And honestly speaking, I did not have the finances to start the operation. I found a space and I said, let me take the space, right?
Yeah.
And my brother was like, put it in God's hands and
Mm.
he will take care of it. Like I've literally as I've been going, God has been providing for me. And I find myself wondering like, why was I even worried to begin with? Because God just has been providing for me to a level that I don't like that I can't even understand. And that has made me realize that God gave us the promise that he will always provide for us. And one of the things that I've been realizing the older I get is that when you're doing something that's in line with God's plan for your life or in line with God's vision, things just work. Doors just open. It's just so smooth, so easy, so effortless when you're doing things in line with God's plan. So I think yeah, just pivoting for me is that aspect where you're like when you're moving into a direction that God wants for you in that season, and you will see how things just go effortlessly when you're moving in line with God's plan for yourself.
Mm. Nah, facts, bro. Facts. So I wanted to touch on the whole like friendship, relationship topic because I feel like I can also relate to it personally, because as you grow up, your friendships change, right? And your relationship with certain people change. For me personally, right? What I've realized is that, dude, if we can only hang out when we're out or like we're at groove, I can't really call you my friend, right? But I only realized this, as I got older, right? And I don't think there's nothing wrong with having like groove friends, but I do feel like, it'll do you best if you know what your friends are there for. Do you get what I mean? Like, and that's why I consider both Tamu and Ngoni my brothers because we we don't even go out together, to be honest. We don't go out together much. Do you get what I mean? Not saying that's a good thing or whatever, but I know that I know that they're gonna be with me, they're gonna be there for me through the worst times and through the best times. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that. I don't know if you guys have anything to say on that topic in terms of, losing friends, maybe realizing certain friends are only for certain environments. I don't know if you guys have experience with that too. You can go, Gugu.
Yo, way too much experience with that. My mom would say something to me all the time growing up. She always say that she has friends for different reasons, and I never understood it because I was the girl who would just be like, if you're my friend, you're my sister. Like these things kind of go hand in hand until you obviously realize that you can only do certain things with people. And I think when you don't realize that, you can also grow to be resentful of the people in your life because you're trying to put them in certain areas where they just won't fit, right? Like the truth of the matter is that I have a good time with you when I'm outside. And if that's where it ends, that's okay. You can't stretch someone to meet you at a place where you meet yourself or you want them to meet you. So yeah, I think you really have to be honest. And obviously the older you get, the easier it is to kind of differentiate between these things. And also the older you get, the harder life gets, dog. Like you can't just rely on your homies that you're having a good time with because that honestly doesn't really do much. It'll distract you, but you need people you can actually speak to, people you can rely on. Yeah, people you trust also. And I think that's a very big thing for me. I think growing up for a long time, I used to be very much like a in the group girl, like there's always a group and I'm in it and it's nice and it's lit and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but I think I've grown to appreciate one-on-one connections. And if I don't have a relationship with you, or if we don't, I don't know, get along, if we don't have much in common, that's okay. Like, I also think sometimes people think that no longer being friends with people is beef, and that's definitely not the case. We need to meet each other with grace. Like, as much as I'm changing and evolving and going through my own things, so are other people. And other people are also pivoting. That's the crazy part, like someone maybe moving countries, they've found a new identity. There's just so many things that are happening. So, yeah, not relationally, but like in the friendship sense, for sure, I felt it. But I want to speak more to being on the other side of the pivot because I'm grateful that I made the space that I did. And you'll feel it in your spirit. You'll have the discernment. You might feel off in a space, off around certain people, or you just might quite literally feel like you have nothing to say. And instead of fighting that feeling and like forcing, I'd encourage someone to just sit in that for a bit, have God be your friend, speak to your family members. I think even in doing so, it allows for those that are meant to be in your life to draw closer to you and for you to also be aware of the fact that, like, oh, yo, like, I think that's what's been interesting now is that some of my friends have been my friends for a very long time, but we were just never that close. And then it kind of took me taking a step back from everything and everyone and us gravitating more towards each other to be like, oh, like, I knew we were friends, but now we're really friends. Yeah, and I don't know, it's cool. Like God provides in the craziest of ways. Like sometimes what you need is not that far from you. It's just that you are being consumed by too much to be able to see what's in front of you. Yeah.
That was really powerful, and I liked what you're saying about paying attention to the feeling because I think self-awareness is also really important. Like you always know what kind of friends are there for you, what kind of friends maybe you can't really always rely on in certain situations. And a lot of it is seasonal, and that's okay. Like you said, some people might think, it's beef, but like you said, life is difficult and it does get more and more difficult, and you want to have the right people around you. And you also want to be a good influence in their lives as well. The friendship should make sense. So yeah, like I mean, if I know that right now I'm not trying to go out, or maybe I feel like I have a bad relationship with alcohol. If I go out, I'm also gonna affect you and your life. I'm not gonna be the best person to be around. You're gonna get home and be like, yo, that guy was moving a bit mad, So I think
Yes.
both ways. Just having that self-awareness and being honest with yourself. If it doesn't feel right, it's okay to investigate that feeling and try to figure out why you're not being a bad person or a bad friend. It's probably for the greater good.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to share like a short story that I had. So, like a while ago, there was a friend who, I just felt like, it's like this person's like becoming a liability. I'm not trying to be messed up or whatever. I'm just being real. Yeah, I'm being real. I'm being real.
No, but I get exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, just like, yo, dude, like, bro, like, you know what I mean? I have love for you. Do you get what I mean? I have love for you, but dog. So I spoke to my cousin about it, right? And I was like, he gave me some solid advice. And he was just like, what, Rindai, like, in life, certain people need you more than you need them. And vice versa. You get what I mean? We need certain people more than they need us.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, like, it took me a second to like, when I really thought about it, I'm like, damn, you get what I mean? That's so true.
That is
You get what I mean? Like, you never know. Maybe God placed that person in your life for you to be there for them. You get what I mean? So it kind of, changed the way I view friendships and relationships because I was like, damn, you get what I mean? It's not just about what we can both get from this. Do you get what I mean? Because if I can be there for you, if I can speak life into you, if I can encourage you, then who am I to be like, nah, I'm not trying to be a friend anymore. Like God, I'm just doing God's job. Do you get what I mean? But then again, I do think there's a limit to that. But yeah, I'll let you speak, Grims.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, Rindy, and also what Gugu was saying earlier about how just because someone's not your friend anymore doesn't mean that there should be resentment. Like there's some friends that come into your life for like a short period, and that impact that they have or you have is always powerful. Like, and how I now see it these days is that there's no need to be resentful of friends lost. Like I'm grateful of that short time that I came into your life or that short time that you came to my life and you provided value. Like you're saying, Rindy, like, God touches us through people, right? And, you don't have to keep, keep talking to that person or keep being in that person's life. But that period, you needed them. That period, they needed you. And, like as you change, as you shift, sometimes you're just there to be part of someone's transition. Sometimes you're there to help someone come back from something. Like for myself, like I've had like many friends that have come into my life for short periods of time, and looking back at it, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I hadn't met that person and gone through what I've gone through with that person. But now I'm no longer in a space where I can continue to be friends with that person because the person that I am now, the direction that I'm trying to go in now is no longer aligned with what that person is about, what that person does. Not say they're a bad person, but it's no longer aligned with that person anymore. And all I can be is grateful for the time, but then going forward, I have to leave them behind with no hard feelings. It's literally just like you're like that was that was then, this is now. Maybe if we meet again in the future, cool. But in the current moment, there's no space for someone, for you in my life right now. And no hard feelings at all.
Yeah, nah, facts, bro. And I also feel like, I would like to believe that there is good in everyone. You get what I mean? Like the older I get, the more I try to see the best in people, right? And even though someone can be like 90% effed up, right?
Real.
I'm pretty sure everyone has that 10% that you can look at and be like, damn, you get what I mean? Like, I know personally, right? I've had friends who, like, I don't speak to at all anymore. But I can still look back and be like, damn, okay, you know what? You actually taught me how to be more patient. You taught me how to be more generous. You taught me how to be more loving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, just going back to what Ngoni said, we have to appreciate that. We can't just, write everything off and be like, nah, this person's the worst person in the world.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all we had for now. Just a quick one. Maybe we might get you on a part 2 on another episode. I hope you enjoyed it, Google.
I would love to come back. I would love to come back. Yeah, and thank you guys for sharing your stories and your viewpoints as well. In general, I think it's very important to have men in the space, especially men who speak sense. And yeah. I wish you guys nothing but the best. I would love to come back. I'd love to have you guys as well.
Yeah,
So we'll definitely talk about, making something happen.
Definitely. We're actually gonna send you something. We started our own perfume brand. I don't know if you can see.
What?
Yeah. We started our own.
Oh, the bottle is so cute.
Yeah.
And the fragrance is mad dope.
Oh, wait, when did you guys start this? You're talking about pivoting, child. When did you start this?
Like, we started it about a month ago, but we haven't started selling it. We're still, still figuring everything out. So you're gonna get V1. You're gonna get
Yes, I do.
definitely send that through to you. And yeah.
No, for sure. And congrats on that.
Nah. Thank you, Google. Thank you. I hope
You're
you
welcome.
Thank you so much.
I did. Of course, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Google.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.